recording. Yeah, so I felt that honestly, I was deciding all day what we would do between today and Saturday. And I decided this would be a good class to do the seniors practice because it's a shorter class and there's just so much you can do with the chair, and they'll spend, and we do need to have a little focus on seniors. And then Saturday we'll have a more time to cover many of the variations of what you can do with the chair. And if you looked at that PDF of that chair yoga book, then you already get a taste of that. Okay, so I'm going to bring up our invocation. And now sitting tall, coming to a comfortable seat with an upright spine. Bringing your hands together in Atmanjali Mudra, palms pressing firmly together, thumbs together, thumbs over the heart center, and with the thumbs, lift the skin over the heart center and become taller in the frontal spine. We'll chant the Om 3 times, starting with an exhalation breath and then inhaling. Om. Om. Yogena chitasya padena vacham malam sharirasya javajakena yopa karatam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shanka chakrasidarinam Sahasra Shirsam Swetam Pranamami Patanjalim. Hari Om. With gratitude to the teachers of yoga, the lineage of yoga, to one another for the opportunity to come together to study, to uplift one another. To anything else that comes up for you that you're feeling grateful for right now, bring it forward. And then lower your hands, raise your head. And we will move into our practice now. So I'm going to start with some theory, because I did do this this fun amateur study back in 2004 or 5 with seniors group in rural Vermont. So I wanted to share some pics from that with you to help inspire you and how you can work with seniors, and then go over some of what we did together. So it's 2 short presentations, 2 short PowerPoints here. I'll start with the one that's primarily photos. Okay, I'm going to hide this from view. Okay, so yoga for healthy aging in the Iyengar method. And this was in Waitsfield, Vermont. That's my wonderful group there. And they were primarily residents at a semi-independent living residents. Yeah. So the Healthy Aging Yoga program, slides that follow are mostly taken during a 3-month Vermont Council on Aging grant-funded program to bring fitness to senior adults through the practice of yoga. As noted, some of the photos follow students up to 2 years later, as many continued after the 3-month sponsorship ended. These participants were all new to yoga at the time of the starting the program. Skilled, methodical, and cautious instruction brought all of these students to new levels of fitness. And those who continued found they could do things in their 70s and 80s they would never imagined, as the following slides will demonstrate. So I did continue the classes at the center, at the residence, after the study was completed as well. And then 1 or 2 students then joined me in a regular class. The class begins with warming up legs and arms in a seated version of Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana on the left, followed by standing in Urdhva Hastasana. This pose can also be done seated. The student in right foreground is both blind and deaf. Older adults are capable of doing challenging asana with the use of props. Trikonasana is shown with handed chair. A block can also be added if they aren't able to take their hand down to the chair seat. And their concentration is evident. They were real keeners. Really, really love this group. Use of the chair and blankets allows students and teachers to choose levels of difficulty. Here, the chair is for those who have difficulty rising from the floor. So you can see a mixed group. Chairs are still there for everybody, but some have chosen to sit on a stack of blankets instead. The wall is also a prop, helping with balance as well as providing orientation feedback. Students can choose level of challenge by raising one or both arms. The chair is available if someone needs a rest. So here they just have the chair in front of them, available to them should they need it. But there's ways we work with the chair in this pose also. The chair is the most useful prop for standing and seated asana. This group is doing Surya Namaskar. The student in the right foreground is 90. Surya Namaskar is made possible with a chair. Taking the chair to a wall prevents the chair from sliding. Both chair and wall are used to assist this 90-year-old student who is legally deaf and blind. A very fit 75-year-old student with Parkinson's who has been practicing yoga for 2 years at this point demonstrates chair sarvangasana and rope shirshasana. The photo on the right was published in her physician's Parkinson's newsletter. I thought that was great. Can finish the practice with a cooling supported forward bend and a seated shavasana. And here's a sample of some of the students in the group. Okay, so that is the first. I've got a ton of slides of these wonderful people, all women, as it turned out to be. So I'm going to share another one that has a little bit more information included in it. And the yoga we'll do on Saturday with the chair, and you've noticed in that book, chair yoga isn't just for seniors or people with disabilities, you can really do some cool stuff with chairs for yoga. Okay, so here's the a little bit more information this time on the study. Okay, some acknowledgements. So without the financial assistance, cooperation, volunteer assistance of the Central Vermont community, this project would not have been possible. I would like to acknowledge the following organizations and individuals for their indispensable assistance. Central Vermont Council on Aging for providing a successful aging initiative grant to cover the cost of 12-week yoga program and the cost of hiring an independent physiotherapist for the baseline and follow-up testing. Mad River Valley Seniors Council for assisting financially by renting yoga equipment. Cathedral Square Corp and Linda Chason for the use of the activity room at Evergreen Place for yoga classes. Ralph LaForge, Masters of Science for his invaluable expert advice. He was just somebody I ended up contacting from all the studies I was researching online. And he was a co-author on at least one. And I ended up writing him and asking him some questions. And he became somewhat of an advisor to me. He was, I didn't use him too much because I didn't want to take advantage of his generosity, but he was quite willing to communicate with me while I was doing this. Lisa Russell, physical therapist of Maximum Fitness, for providing a facility for the testing and for administering the baseline and follow-up tests. Jessie Renault for providing her time and expertise with Excel, and Kathy Stevens for volunteering her help at the yoga classes. So that was my crew. And then just a bit about me, and that's a picture of me at the Iyengar Institute in 2005. And that picture's from 2005, so that's when the study was from. And then I just acknowledge my teachers. So here's my abstract, which was revised in 2007. I worked on this for a while, a couple of years. Objectives to document whether there are fitness benefits from a seniors yoga program in the form of a 12-week Iyengar yoga intervention. Method. Whoops. This is a preliminary study to assess whether there are fitness benefits gained from a seniors yoga program in the form of a 12-week Iyengar method yoga intervention with 16 volunteer subjects. Volunteer subjects were grouped in were divided into two groups based on attendance. I had two groups, which created a whole other level of complication. You know, I had to do measurements for two separate groups. I had a once-a-week group and a twice-a-week group, and I decided to do measurements on both of them. So there were 10 subjects in the twice weekly group and 6 in the once weekly group. I think I started with over like 24 people, but then it gradually went down to, this was what I had for the full study. Subjects were female with a median age of 81.6. So 95% accuracy. And then in the twice weekly group, 75.3 average age or median age. So median being more in the middle line than the average, I chose a median instead. Subjects were tested by an independent physical therapist in 3 categories, which I've designed: function, flexibility, and strength, before beginning the yoga intervention and again following the 12 weeks of yoga. Testing was single blind and utilized weight resistance equipment, functional testing, and goniometer measurements. So it was single blind because the participants didn't know their scoring, but it wasn't possible to blind the physical therapist. She knew their scoring before and after. The controls were not a matched group. I did start out with a control group. I think I told you I didn't control the control group and they were out of control and I couldn't use them. So The controls were not a matched group, so they were not included in the results. When subjected to t-test analyses of 4 of 5 strength tests showed significant improvement. Function and flexibility test results were not considered significant. No significant difference was recorded between the once and twice weekly group. A study of longer duration with a larger population is recommended to further investigate yoga-derived fitness benefits to senior adults. So and I think I mentioned before when we were talking about joint stiffness, the importance of tendon stiffness in joints, and that the result of exercise actually will increase the tendon stiffness. So it's many years later that I realized that that may have been a factor in they're not showing an increase in flexibility, but they did have statistically significant increase in strength. So I measured pre-existing levels of physical function, and in the bottom, you can see how the pie is divided into physically elite, physically fit, physically independent, physically frail, and physically dependent. I think this might be set on an automatic forward. And I did it in the 1 time a week and twice time a week group. So then you can just see how the chart measured out. So in the 1 time a week group was 50% physically fit. The twice a week group had a lower percentage of physically fit. It was 50% physically frail in the twice weekly group. So the once weekly group were people who were really primarily coming from the outside and not residents at Evergreen. And the twice weekly group included included in the other group. And then they had a second class as well. So so I measured their fitness level using that existing measuring tool. And then ADLs were measured before and after activities of daily living. Also using existing measurement instruments for this. And so I looked at different categories of ADLs, from moderate activities such as moving a chair, vacuum cleaning or gardening, shopping, lifting or carrying groceries, climbing a flight of stairs, walking a few hundred yards. So this is all measures of improvement in some areas. There were, and you can see that there's the grades are great improvement, some improvement, no improvement, worse, and not available. And there's the twice weekly and once weekly group. So the 1 time a week group are the paler color, and the twice a week group are the darker color. And you can see in some areas there was some real improvement. And then here's another set of measures: bending or kneeling, reaching things in a cupboard, preparing meals, personal grooming such as bathing and dressing yourself, driving a car, checking behind you. And so this is this is a result of standardized questionnaires that makes up the chart, the numbers. So it is subjective based on their experience and response to questionnaires. So there's the questionnaires are subjective, and then the measurements taken by the physical therapist are objective. Senior yoga study group. During 12-week session doing Parshva Sukhasana, props are used to assist correct alignment in a pose. Blankets and chairs are used here to assist posture. Body weight provides resistance. Asanas are modified from the Iyengar method introductory syllabus. Senior yoga study group doing Surya Namaskar. One of the subjects I told you about her in the far left, she remained seated through the entire 12 weeks, and yet she still had improvement. 86-year-old measured a 50% improvement in 3 areas: rising from a chair, quadriceps and hamstring strength, and a 20.17% improvement in shoulder flexion. All that using her shoulders. The class begins with warming up legs and arms in a seated version of Uttita Hasta Padangusthasana, followed by standing or seated Urdhva Hastasana. The 90-year-old in the foreground demonstrated improvement in hip external rotation and a 20% improvement in quadriceps muscle strength. Here they are doing seated pranayama, and they would do seated shavasana this way as well. So evidence indicates that seniors benefited from a regular yoga class with a significant improvement in strength. Self-reported responses from questionnaires suggest improvement in ADLs and social benefits. A twice weekly class proved more beneficial than once weekly, but not significantly. There's Bhikkya Iyengar. So he was extremely accomplished, yet developed props to help those of us who struggle with poses. So he was famous for his temper, that people don't realize his compassion. And most people don't even realize that Bhikkya Iyengar developed the props. They don't know where props came from. They don't ask. So these next few slides demonstrate examples of how props are used to modify asana. So here's the full pose and a chair variation of Uttanasana. Here's full Urdhva Mukha Svanasana and a chair variation. Full Uttita Trikonasana and a chair variation. Okay, and that is that. Is there, oh, there's Ellen. I just put her in here too, again. In her follow-up questionnaire, Ellen expressed that she felt some improvement in all her daily living activities following the 12 weeks of yoga, and add that she feels the yoga has helped her with her balance, important with Parkinson's disease. And then Ina noted that she had experienced a great improvement in climbing 1 flight of stairs since she began the yoga classes. And in the testing following the yoga, she measured a 50% improvement in quadriceps strength and 44% in hamstring strength. So both of these women were pretty amazing. And Ellen, with the Parkinson's, she really did find the yoga quite helpful, and a couple of benefits for her were the meditative aspects and also learning how to just slow down. And she felt that she was able to correct her balance, and she fell less or was stumbled less when she was able to just pause and use her yogic mindset to do that. And then she could be lying on the floor and her hands would be trembling. And I would just go over and I would wrap her in a blanket or put a weight on top of her hands, and it would just settle right down. So really nice benefits for her. Any questions about any of that?
How are the seniors with the pranayama? Is there any precautions, or like, I'm sure they can't do like Kapalabhati or something like that, but
yeah, just simple pranayama. Yeah, for sure. Just ujjayi breathing. They could do viloma, interrupted inhalation,
okay.
Exhalation, and then Sometimes we would just do it seated because of difficulty getting up and down on the floor. But as much as possible, I would encourage them to get up and down off the floor. And we kind of make a practice of it, you know, how to get up and down off the floor. Emma.
I have a question in regards to do we have any additional schooling that we'll go through in regards to even more disabled or potentially partially paralyzed people in regards to yoga?
Can you start that again?
I have a couple of patients who have spinal cord injuries, and they've showed some interest in learning some yoga. And I do know the chair assisted yoga would probably be great for maybe one of them. But I have another lady who can only walk maybe 2 steps. And I'd love to encourage something that you could do, but like she's interested in chair yoga, obviously, but like at the same time, we wanted to get her in standing position, other position. But unfortunately, she is a larger build. So assisted might work if there were 2 instructors, but not 1. Is there anything else we go over to like make it even more accessible? I know this is taking it to another level, but like
Oh, it's a good question. I think in that case, you may want to you know, do a Google Scholar search and look for anything on this, and go to the INES website. You might, and because they have a page of research there. I think our Yoga National Association. Our Yoga National Association of the United States .org. They do have a page of research there. See if they have anything on neurological or spinal cord. Certainly at the Iyengar Institute, there were certainly people with paralysis, partial paralysis, spinal cord injuries, various conditions that came there for yoga. You know, India is a really different world, though. They would have to make their way up a set of stairs to get to the class. So they'd have to be capable of doing that. But they also, in some ways, they're capable of doing more because they have fewer options. It is not a handicap-abled world. So it's really, people are very motivated because there's not a lot of options. And then there's also, they would do things that you would never imagine. Here, some of us would just go, oh my God, no insurance will ever cover that, or no, nobody will, no patient will ever tolerate that. Be afraid to do that with people. But you can do various things. Like certainly scoliosis is commonly worked with, and to a fair degree of scoliosis as well. Yeah, it is it's more of a specialty for sure. Something to explore. I don't have any straightforward answer for you. Yeah. I would say, I would really encourage you to do it, to go forward. Start with a chair, work with them, with each of them, and just do some arm work, do some leg work. You'll get some ideas from what we do with this paper.
Is there a good routine for like people who can't stand at all, like in like maybe balance or otherwise? Is there a good routine out there?
I would just pull out of the handout that I gave you, the seniors handout, all the poses that are done seated, and do them. Just order them the way you want to and do them. We can do everything that's in here can be done seated.
Okay.
Yeah, everything that's in here can be done from a chair.
Because like, if nothing else, that's a great starting point, right?
Absolutely. So this handout that I gave you, it's really basic poses that can be done from a chair. And if people can get up, they can get up, but they don't have to. Fran.
I was just gonna say, I have a client that had a really bad parachuting accident, and it was like a miracle that he regained his ability to walk again. But he's recently taken up yoga the last year and a half, and all he's been all that he can do are the seated poses and stuff on the floor, and the amount of benefit it's given him is immense. And that's because of his balance. He doesn't have the proprioception in his feet to balance. But I'm just wanting to, on what Leigh was saying about the seated, and as a witness, hugely helpful.
That's great. Thank you, Fran. And actually, I just thought of something else. I'm going to write it in here for you. Matthew Sanford. And you'll have to look him up. He has his own website. He actually has a basic Iyengar yoga teacher training. He was in a severe car accident as a youth that killed his entire family, except him. I'm pretty sure it was his whole family. And he was extremely disabled. He was told he would never be able to do all these things ever again. And he said after years of following the physiotherapy and everything else, and he just didn't like the kind of treatment he was receiving. He said he felt totally disconnected from his legs. And so he's a paraplegic. He felt totally disconnected from his legs, and he took up yoga. And he worked with a yoga teacher who, what a blessing he found her, who was not intimidated to work with him. And he could get on a yoga mat. He had upper body strength, and he could get down on the yoga mat, and they would, as well as be in his chair. And he said just the benefit of connecting with his body and connecting with his lower limbs, even though there wasn't particularly movement there, but he was back in having a relationship with his whole body. And it was transformative for him. And he teaches now. I think he's somewhere in the Midwest, US. And he teaches and works with people with spinal cord injuries. So that's a good one to follow up with as well. Any other questions before we continue? So we're going to go through this handout, and I think we're going to get through a few of these. If you notice, it's class 1 and 2, class 3 and 4, class 5 and 6. There's repetition. It'll give them, I didn't give them, this is what I did with my group. Didn't give them something new every class. It's just since too much input, right? People needed an opportunity to become familiar with what they're doing. And when I teach classes, generally as well, I'll often, I graduate through the classes, but I usually bring in some poses from the previous class as well, so that they're building familiarity with poses too. Don't do completely something new every class. Okay, so we're going to do this practice, and we're going to do it in the chair. So get your chair. I'm going to pin myself. I'm going to work from my handout because I don't have it memorized. And even, this is a starter sheet. You'll start to think yourself of other poses you can do in a seated position that will work for this. So starting with class 1 and 2, with Tadasana, but Tadasana can be done from seated. I'm going to have a yoga brick and a belt as well. And now if somebody's feet aren't on the floor, you have to make sure their feet are able to rest flat on the floor. So you would add bricks underneath in that case. If their feet aren't firmly planted, you want to get that earthy feet planted firmly on the floor benefit. And that's what I did with the one woman who did the whole practice from seated. She had yoga bricks under her feet the whole time. So then even if you don't need them, you can try that and feel how are you getting a stronger sensory feedback if you have something harder under your feet. So you get that feeling of earthiness and grounding. So then here in a seated Tadasana. So what makes this Tadasana? The upright spine, the feet grounding into the earth. So we can bring our attention to our feet. We're going to lift all the toes, spread the toes, and bring the big toe down, followed by the second toe, the third toe, all the way to the pinky toe. And I know they don't all go down individually, and you can acknowledge that to your student so they don't feel like they're the only one. Lift all your toes up again, and now we'll go the other way, starting with the pinky toe. It goes down a little bit more easily this way for people, all the way to the big toe. And then if the feet are on the floor, you can have the yoga brick between the feet. Have them look at their feet and work with bringing the outer edge of your big toe to the edge of the yoga brick. Can you push the outer edge of your big toe into the edge of the yoga brick and spread all the other toes away? And now press down through the metatarsal heads and lift all your toes. And when you say metatarsal heads, you're either going to explain to them what their metatarsal heads are first, or you just say toe mounds. The balls of your feet, however you want to say it. But say it in a way that they'll understand. And then you can see the arch lift as you do that. Bring your inner ankle toward the yoga brick. Did you feel how the thighs started to turn in as you did that? Take the weight to the outer edge of your feet. Do you feel how the knees move apart? Press down firmly through the big toe mound and little toe mound and inner heel. Shoulders back. Lift up through the spine. And you can have, I keep people from leaning against the chair, as in they'll slump into it. So you want to be a little bit away from the back of the chair, pin the shoulders back. Maybe they can bring their arms down. Yeah, you can bring your arms down, spread your palms, spread your fingers, spread across the collarbones. Tadasana, mountain pose. And now Urdhva in Tadasana. Now, it can be very helpful with older adults to use the belt for this. And holding the belt shoulder width. So you're just going to pull it, holding it shoulder width apart. And as you pull it, it straightens the elbows. Inhale and reach up. And as you lift up out of the armpit chest, lift all the way up toward the ceiling. Side walls of the ribs lifting. Go on breathing. Can you reach any higher? And then exhale the arms back down. So if you're working with older adults, you're not going to keep them here a long time. And with my older adult group, I'll make jokes with them about reaching for things in the upper shelf of their cupboard, you know, things they don't even know they have anymore. When was the last time you saw that Christmas platter, you know, those sorts of things that are up there? And we'll just reach for it again. Reach again. Everybody come on up, reach up, reach up. Okay, reach even higher. You're painting the ceiling this weekend. Now descend your shoulders away from your ears. Take your arms back even further without arching your back, navel to the spine. And then exhale the arms down. And then you'll observe whether or not they're puffing up the chest, you know, going into, you have to look out for if they're going to overarch their back or what they're going to do. But for older adults, I don't get too detailed. I just get them to do it, right? You just really, really want to encourage them to do it. And then Utkatasana, I have next on here. Now, we'll do this. I want to show you this from standing. And then you can, you know, you can encourage your, remove the brick from between my feet. And if you can encourage people to stand up, that's great. But if they're going to be in the chair the whole time, that you won't do Utkatasana. But let's all stand up now for Utkatasana. You taught this the other day, Emma. Okay, so you just stood up from your chair. Don't move away from your chair. You're just in front of it. So sit down in your chair. So you know it's there. And now stand up again. Hold on to your belt and bring your arms out in front of you. Exhale, sit down in your chair and come on back up. Bring your arms up overhead. Exhale, sit down in the chair. Come on back up. Sit down. Stand up. Sit down. Stand up. Sit down. So if people are able to do this even once or whatever, maybe they aren't, but you know, the woman who sat the whole time still had an improvement in her leg strength. And I'm sure it had to have been from the cueing that she was picking up and observing everyone else. Okay, arms rolled overhead holding the strap. So open your belt up. So you have a longer loop now, a longer strap now. Let's all do this together. And pull on the belt. Inhale, reach up, and then take it behind you and down. And then up and forward. Just go around in circles, semicircle, back and forth. Straight elbows. There has to be tension on the belt. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Just breathe according to your own rhythm now as you do this. We're just going to do 2 more. Reach all the way up. If you want to challenge yourself, you make the ends of the belt shorter. So you're bringing your hands closer together. And that makes it a little bit harder. Do a couple more rounds. That's good. And then bring the belt down. And then we did in that first lesson do a standing exercise with the arm at the wall, press hand into wall and turn inner elbow upward and downwards. Now you can do that sitting in a chair if you're close to a wall. So I'm just going to move my my chair close enough to a wall. So then you want to have your heel of your hand pointing forward, fingers are back. No, fingers up. Have your fingers up toward the ceiling. It'll work best that way. Heel of the hand pressed against the wall. And turn away from it, Fran. So you're at a right angle to your arm. Yeah, that's it. Arm is straight. And now turn your inner elbow up toward the ceiling and down toward the floor. Doing some rotational work in the shoulder joint. If you want to keep that shoulder from lifting, put your other hand on top of your upper trapezius and then turn the inner elbow up. Don't let your hand move, and then turn the inner elbow down. Back and forth a few times. So we would do this as well. So really working in the shoulder joint with a couple of these exercises, and then you'll do the other side. You want to do both arms. Inner elbow toward the ceiling. Keep the hand level with your shoulder. Don't be higher than your shoulder. And then back and forth. You can use the opposite arm to keep the shoulder from going up and down. Many people will really turn the whole shoulder girdle. The whole shoulder girdle will want to go up and down. So you want to help them control that movement and rotate the head of the humerus in the fossa. And then I'm a tough teacher. I actually had them do a wall sit. I had them go to the wall. Now you can do this with the chair in front and feet away from the wall, and then bend your knees like you're going to sit down, and then push your hands in the chair to come back up. They do have to be, this takes some strength for them to be able to do this. And what I would typically do, if you're going to do this with somebody, I would take a big bolster or something like that, a stack of pillows, and put it behind their feet. I'm just moving the chair so you can see me, but I would still have the chair here, just so that if they feel like if they're going to slide down the wall, they're going to land on something soft, right? Just for fear factor. So just have something there to make them feel safe. And then Dandasana with the chair, and Bardvajasana with the chair, and Urdhva Paschimottanasana on the chair. So these next three, Dandasana on the chair is, I'm going to show you facing sideways. Dandasana on the chair is with legs straight, spinning the thighs in, stretching out through the inner edge of the feet. Palms on the chair, shoulders back. And you have to extend out through the heels, point the toes toward the ceiling, cut the outer calves, the outer hips in toward the midline. So the legs are very active in this pose, just like they are when you're sitting on the ground. Okay, so you want to watch that their feet aren't going all over the place or they're getting floppy. Get the legs activated in this pose. And then upright spine, shoulders back. Then Bardvajasana in the chair with the seniors group. I didn't move them around too much in the chair. There's so many different ways you can do Bardvajasana in the chair. But actually, you saw in the pictures, they sat in the chair seat, and they had really different chairs too. They were heavier chairs, so I didn't really have them moving their chairs around. The chairs stayed in one place more or less. So they would just sit on the chair and turn this way. Use their hand against the outer leg. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, turn from the navel. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn from the rib cage. Inhale, become taller. Exhale, turn more. Push the outer leg back into the hand as you push your hand into your leg. And then second side. Exhale to your left. Inhale, become taller. Exhale and turn. Inhale, lift up from the crown of the head. Exhale, turn from the rib cage. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn. Head turns last. If you notice that you turned your head first, bring your head back to neutral. Turn from the collarbones, and now turn your head. So that's one way. The other way is to sit sideways in the chair. So if they sit sideways in the chair, have the chair on your right side. Okay, chair is on the right side. Now, this doesn't work for broader people because of the width of the chair. And I showed you how you can step in the chair. You know, someone could step in the chair like this, but this is not probably a group that is so agile. Okay, so if that's another reason to just keep them facing this way, because they're well supported on the chair. However, if you have someone who can sit sideways on the chair comfortably and be well on the chair, you can do it this way. And then inhale, exhale, take your hands to the chair back. Inhale, lift up, exhale, turn. Now you can push with the right and pull with the left and turn from the waist. With each inhale, lift up. With each exhale, turn more. And go on lifting, inhaling, exhaling, turning. Take your collarbones parallel with the chair back. Now here you have to watch the knees. So this outer knee moves back into the socket. This outer knee pushes back toward the chair seat. Again, you can put a brick between their knees for that. Now with the twists and the forward bends are not for someone with osteoarthritis or osteopenia. You have to, is relative. You just have to check where they are in their status. Did I say osteoarthritis? I meant osteoporosis. Osteoporosis and osteopenia. Osteoarthritis is fine. And then you'll go to your second side. And coming to the second side now, inhale, lift up. And they could take their arms up too. They could inhale, exhale, turn. Hands to the chair back. Roll the shoulders back. Inhale, lift from the sternum. Exhale and turn. Inhale, become taller. Exhale and turn more. With each inhalation breath, become taller. With each exhalation breath, turn. Keep your gaze neutral. And then at the end of your last exhalation breath, turn your head and look beyond your shoulder. And now you're going to scissor your legs to make your knees even. Take your left knee forward, your right knee back. And release. So that is 2 ways to do a seated twist with seniors. We'll look at other ways to do twisting with the chair on Saturday, but those are the 2 that are most accessible for older adults. And then you think about the kind of furniture they have in their home. They're going to be working with a dining table, something like that, if they do it on their own. So have your seat facing forward again. And then Urdhva Paschimottanasana. Actually, I'll show that from the side. So this one is using the belt. So Urdhva means upward facing, upright, Urdhva. And Paschimottanasana is a forward bend. Paschima is the west side of the body. So this is called a stretch of the west side of the body, but we're doing it upward facing instead of going into the whole forward bend action. So hook your sit bones onto the edge of your chair seat and straighten your legs. And when you work with people doing this, make sure that they're fully on a mat and that their feet aren't going to be able to slide out from under them on a carpet or something like this. And I'm taking the belt and putting it around my feet. So I've got the belt around the neck of the arch, which is, or the neck of the heel, which is between the heel and the arch. It's that. And then holding the belt with straight arms, pull on it and lift your chest and look forward. And now inhale and look up. Take your head all the way back. Go on breathing here, extending out through the heels, push into the belt. And if you can walk your hands down any amount more, keeping your legs straight, go on extending out through the heels, toes pointing upward, arms into the sockets, and you can gaze forward. Urdhva Paschimottanasana. And then release. You'll want to consider when it's best to keep the chair against a wall. Make sure that they're on a sticky mat and that the ground, if you're working on top of carpet, if the carpet is like a long pile versus a short, very short pile, you want to keep the chair close to the wall. You don't want anything uneven. And then we would do Shavasana, and that's the first practice. You would do a seated Shavasana after that, which would be sitting for a few breaths quietly in an upright position while you lead them. But we're going to go into the next practice now. We'll save our Shavasana. The Supta Padangusthasana in the chair. Supta Padangusthasana in the chair from a seated position. And you can have your buttocks well on the chair now. And take the belt under your right foot, under the heel of the neck of the heel, and straighten your leg. Draw the arms back. Draw the arms back, lift the chest, lift your leg. Don't do all the work with your arms. Push into your heel and lift up. Go on breathing. And now you could do this for much longer, but your seniors can't. You'll have to go back and forth with this. So we'll bring the leg back down. Nice work. Bring the second foot into the belt. And then extend out through the heel, lift your leg. Arms back. As you push into the heel, push into the belt. And lift your chest. Eyes soft, breath soft. Both legs are rolling in toward the midline. Don't let that bent leg go wandering out to the side. Spin it in toward the midline, foot firmly planted on the earth, like you're in Tadasana with your right leg. And then bend your knee and come back down, and we'll change sides again. We'll do this one more time on each side. Extend out through the heel as you lift your leg. Pull the arms back into the sockets. Draw your elbows back and lift your chest. Gaze beyond your foot. Eyes soft, breath soft. Sit tall, extending up through the crown of the head. Spin both eyes in toward the midline and extend out through the soles of your feet. Exhale, bend your knee. Last side. Extend out through the heel and lift your leg. Arms into the sockets, elbows back, shoulders back. Inhale, become taller. With the exhalation breath, soften your eyes. And then bend your knee and come out. So you might have thought that was a bit of work anyway. So just, think for seniors, that's going to be work. So you definitely don't want to keep them there very long. And then the next one is like, I called it Ardha Padmasana, which is a bit of a stretch of a title for it, but it does let me know what it is. So now here with your feet firmly planted on the floor, on your mat, going to bring your right leg up and cross your ankle over your knee. And then bring your foot in a little bit more and turn from the root of the thigh, turn your leg from the inside out. So the knee is moving down toward the floor. Extend out through the inner edge of your foot, through the inner heel and the big toe mound to protect this ankle. Now, not everybody's going to get here. So in which case, they might bring their foot to here. Go on to the outer edge of the foot and rest it at this point. This may be where they're working with this pose. Okay, so you have to use your imagination. The props are only limited by your imagination. And then maybe gradually they make their way up to the chair seat. So it's all like a Janu Shirshasana leg now, or Vrikshasana, pushing the sole of the foot into the inner leg. And then maybe they come to here, or maybe they don't, doesn't matter. Just wherever they are able to come to in this pose, and you're going to facilitate that for them. And then from here, once they are at whichever point they can come to, they're going to do a forward bend. So lifting up from the groins, exhale, fold forward. I can hold the chair legs, I hold the back legs of the chair and fold forward from your hip crease. Go on turning this leg out from the root of the thigh. Right leg turns out from the root of the thigh. You can let your head hang. And then inhale back up. Bring your hand to the outside of the knee and help your leg back down. And second side. So we're going to start first. Let's just everybody start with the outside of your foot on a yoga brick. See if everybody can do this. Turning this thigh out from the root of the thigh And this may be your bus stop, right? Or you come up, bring the foot to the chair seat, to the inner edge of the leg. And this might be your bus stop. And you're going to work here, turning that thigh out. Or the next stage is to catch your foot and bring it on top of your knee, cross it over your leg. And then see if you can start to bring it toward your groin, bring it in. Turning that thigh out from the root of the thigh, whichever version you're doing, thigh turns out from the root of the thigh. Extend out through the inner edge of the foot to protect the ankle. And now hold onto the back of the chair, exhale and fold forward from your hips. It's not a big movement. Let the back of your neck be long. And then inhale back up, help your leg out, feet on the floor, spin the thighs in, stamp down through your feet. And Tadasana, Urdhva Hastasana. So you can do this either from standing or sitting. We can do it from sitting again. Let's put the brick between the feet for awareness. Spin the thighs in, sharpen the inner edge of the feet by pressing the inner edge of the feet into the brick, and cut down through the big toe mound, the little toe mound, the inner and outer heel. Spread all your toes. Bring the outer edge of your big toe toward the brick and spread all your other toes away. Of course, it's very difficult for older people to move their toes. So it's good work for them to practice. They've been in their shoes a long time, most of their lives. And then Urdhva Hastasana, take the belt. And the belt's also good because if the shoulders are not even, one can help the other out as they reach up, lift up, and take the arms back. Lift up and take the arms back. Inhale, become taller. Exhale, soften your face, soften your eyes. And then exhale and lower the arms. If someone has high blood pressure that is not regulated, don't have them take the arms up. Don't do arms overhead positions. In Utkatasana, the arms would stay in front, and just don't do Urdhva Hastasana with them. Have them just keep their arms down in that case, or in front. It's when they bring the arms up, it just puts that much more demand. Just keep the arms forward in that case. Now we can also come up in Tadasana. You can have them stand up for a moment in Tadasana. They could keep the belt. So this is always an option with the brick still here. Stamp down through the feet, pull up through the thighs to firm the knees. And then this may be enough, or you can inhale and reach up again. Arms overhead. Pull on the belt to straighten the elbows. Tailbone descending, arms ascending, eyes soft, breath soft. And then exhale the arms down. Now, Vrikshasana is the next pose. You saw that I did this at the wall with my students with Vrikshasana. They can do it in the chair. So they would be just like if they're doing it in the chair, it's just like a stage of the Ardha Padmasana. They would just bring the foot to the inner thigh if they're going to stay in the chair and do it. And then they can also do the arms. They can have the belt and take their arms up. So we could do this on each side in the chair. And extend up the arms using the belt. Go on turning the right thigh out, taking the knee toward the floor, and that left thigh turns in, sharpening the inner edge of the foot. So the knee has to go to the side a little bit to accommodate this foot here, but it's still the action is to turn toward the sole of the right foot. Then exhale your arms down, help your leg out, second side. Now, when you come, if you want to finesse, when they come into the pose, the calf flesh moves away. You take a hand underneath and you move the calf flesh from the inside toward the outside. Get it out of the way. So it moves toward the outside of the knee. Sharpen the inner edge of your bottom foot. Turn this thigh out from the root of the thigh. And then hands shoulder width. Inhale and reach up. Exhale, soften your face, soften your eyes. And then exhale the arms down. And then also, if you're doing a pose like this and someone finds it, the chair feels too hard on their foot, you can just have, suggest they have things like mini mats or a hand towel or something like that that they can put under their foot so that they don't feel, because in older adults, there's not as much cushion. They're going to feel their bone against the chair more. Okay, and then standing version of Vrikshasana. So they can, one way I teach this is you can stand just with the chair and bring a foot up, pressing the foot into the inner thigh, thigh back into the foot, and use the chair for balance. And the chair also gives you a sense of where your leg is in relationship to each other. So this is one way. Come back through Tadasana, take the second leg up. And then turning the thigh out from the root of the thigh to take the knee back. And you can tell if you're turning your whole pelvis in relationship to the chair. So you want to keep the hip points in line with your chair back. And come on down. And then a next level of support would be to stand with your back supported by the wall and having the chair in front. So you've got the wall behind you for balance support and the chair in front for balance support. And then you would do this again. Or instead, rather, doing it this way. Using the wall behind, the chair in front. And now you can feel if the buttocks are even against the wall, the shoulders are even against the wall. And if you feel confident here, you can take one arm up and bring it back down. You can take the other arm up and bring it back down. And now, if you're confident here, you can take both arms up. Slide your thumbs up the wall. Exhale the arms back down, second side. Even with healthy beginners, you don't keep them in a pose a long time. You graduate them toward that. Not that aging is unhealthy, but just usually there's some condition going on. Okay, So shoulders back, buttocks even at the wall, standing tall. Pay attention to where the standing leg foot is. Did it turn out on you? Is it pointing forward in Tadasana? And then take your left arm up and bring it back down. Take your right arm up and bring it back down. And now you could take both arms up, slide your thumbs up the wall, and exhale back down. And bring your leg down. Good. And then the last variation for this pose that I do, and depending on the level people are at, is they do the pose like this. So pretty much one foot on the ground, standing, they can wiggle in close to the chair and bring the other foot onto the chair. And maybe they can bring this heel to touch the standing leg, maybe not. And they can have the hand on the chair for balance. Standing leg foot forward in Tadasana, pull up through the thigh, shoulders back. And you can work with people here a little while, you know, if they've got the balance, they're really supported by the chair. So go on, lift up from the crown of the head, turn your right thigh out from the root of the thigh and take the knee back and keep the hips forward. And now turn this knee forward, step out, and you'll go to the second side. And you know, the foot is touching or not touching, because this leg has to come in very close to the chair for the foot to touch it. So quite likely they won't be touching this foot to this leg. And then stand tall, shoulders back, go on turning the standing leg, pulling up through the standing leg, and take this knee back. Aerial leg knee moves back. Vrikshasana, tree pose. What kind of a tree are you? And I didn't bring in the arms in this version. This requires a different balance. So we just work with the legs in this one. Turn your knee forward and step out. And come back to your chair and sit. Well, the next one's going to be Trikonasana. So we're going to be doing Trikonasana with the chair. But we can do it. There's a couple of ways we can do Trikonasana with the chair. So I did have them do with my seniors group, I had them do it from standing. But which really is the other Konasanas are easier to do from a chair than Trikonasana. You can't really do Trikonasana seated in a chair very well. But we did it from standing. And there's a couple of different ways you can do Trikonasana from standing. Anything from having, and their legs won't be very wide apart, having the hand on the chair back, moving across the chair back slightly, taking their hand to the chair seat. For stability, they could have the wall and the chair. I'm going to stand with my back to the wall, have the chair here, take my feet apart, and I can lean into the wall and bring my hand to the chair seat. And then that feels stable. Bring the left arm up. Uttita Trikonasana, supported at the wall and with the chair. And then inhale back up. Turn the foot forward. Now change sides. You would, they would move around the other side of the chair, or if it's a light chair like this, can encourage them to move it themselves, or you're moving it for them if they're not that mobile. Second side, so you can take a wider stance for you and challenge yourself personally. I was just mimicking how your seniors are going to be a bit, but you go ahead and take a wide stance and then slide the hand across the chair. Then take your hand to the chair seat. And this outer corner of this front hip moves away from the chair, shoulders back. You can feel both shoulders against the wall. And then if you feel that you can take the arm up, and then bring your arm back down, inhale up, turn your feet parallel, and step your feet together. There are some of the other, as I said, standing poses that, like the obvious ones, like the second warrior pose, poses where the knee is bent, that lend themselves well to the chair. And you can do those with seniors, you know, taking them into poses like this. And we'll be working with these more on Saturday. And doing poses in the chair this way can be good and demanding for pretty much anybody. But let's complete this sequence. Urdhva again, then Urdhva Paschimottanasana again, and Shavasana. So then let's go to some poses that we haven't done yet. So that would be the rest of class 3 and 4. Back to familiar poses, Urdhva Urdhva Paschimottanasana, and Shavasana. And we did those poses, so we'll go to ones we didn't do yet. Purvottanasana in a chair. Class 5 and 6. So Purvottanasana is a stretch of the east side of the body, the front of the body. And we're going to do this because we're working with seniors, we're going to be very conservative with this, sitting well into the chair this time. And then roll the shoulders back and roll back over the chair. Mouth is closed. You can take the arms back. And then tucking your chin and come back up. So then this can be a back bend for seniors. It can be hard. It can be hard for the neck. So in which case, don't have them take the head back. Keep the chin tucked in, reach back and coil the shoulders back without taking the head back. You can also do this with wall support, taking the head back to the wall. So have a wall behind. We're going to do a couple of variations here. And you have to guesstimate the distance. Be well on the chair. Yeah. And as you go back, you want to get to a place where as you go back, you can actually take your head to the wall and rest it there slightly. But challenge yourself enough. You want to get the feeling that you're actually doing a back bend. Turn the upper arms from the inside out, feet firm on the mat. Yeah, so roll back over the chair, the edge of the chair. Feet firmly stamped into the mat, like you're in Tadasana, seated Tadasana legs. And then lift your heart center toward the ceiling. lifting your heart from behind. And then if you want to go to the next stage, you can reach your arms up toward the ceiling and take them back toward the wall. And then exhale, lower your arms. You can lift your head up and come forward. So after a while, they might need to use their hands to lift their head away from the wall. Again, if somebody has high blood pressure, don't take the arms up. You can move your chair a little bit further away from the wall, just a couple of inches, feet firm on the floor. Keep your chin slightly tucked as you coil back over the chair. And now inhale and reach your arms back toward the wall. And if you want to take your head all the way back, and then bring your arms down. You may want to help lift your head up with your hands and sit tall for a moment. So that's a few graded variations of that, but honestly, just sitting in the chair, taking the arms back, shoulders back, and lifting, coiling over that chair, getting the heart center lifted up toward the ceiling, arms back. That's good work for older adults. It really brings the prana into the chest. It opens up this whole thoracic area. It helps give a little bit of a stretch to the pec region to open up the chest. And, it counters that, tendency to develop more of a kyphotic curve in the upper back. You just get that just get away from gravity and go the other way, because there's not many ways that we have in our daily activities that really do this for us, that open us up like this. It's something we have to look for and make happen. As again, we're very flexor focused, anterior eyes, our senses, our sensory organs, nose, ears, mouth are all forward. So we tend to be in this direction. Getting back is less obvious to us. So that's a good one to bring in for older adults. And it'll really get their breath moving too. It gets the prana going. Gomukhasana arms, they can do. So most of them will need the belt. Hold your belt folded in half. You can have it like kind of shoulder width. Now, actually, you take it by the ends. Take it by the ends. It's a little easier to work with to get into the pose. And then you're going to take let's take the right arm over the left and bend your elbows. And then walk your hands toward each other. So most of them won't be able to do this with the hands wrapped, but they can get a taste of it. Lift your elbows away from your chest, feet planted firmly on the floor. Inner edge of the feet sharp, outer edge of the feet sharp. Lift up through the spine, lift the chest, lift the elbows. Descend your shoulders. And then release. Go back to holding closer to the ends of the belt. And this time you're going to take your left over top of your right. See if you can cross above the elbow. Then bend your elbows and walk your hands toward each other. You can get the back of your hands to touch. Get the back of your hands to touch. If not, that's okay too. Stamp down through the feet. Lift up through the spine. Lift your chest, lift your elbows, descend your shoulders. So you get a nice stretch in the upper back, across the upper back in this pose. Garudasana, the eagle arms, and release. Adho Mukha Svanasana, standing pose, hands on the chair. Adho Mukha, Urdhva Mukha. So we're going to do a couple of standing poses with the chair now. And if you're working strictly seated, you would leave these poses out if you're working with someone who's not able to stand. So our Adho Mukha Svanasana, I always have the back of the chair at the wall, working with a special group to make sure the chair isn't going to slide. Even if in my setting, if they're working with me in my setting, and I know it's not going to slide because I've got a really good sticky mat and a hard floor and all of that, I still use the wall because they're going to go home and try it at home. And if I use the wall, they will use the wall. If I don't use the wall, telling them to use the wall at home isn't good enough. I have to do it so that they'll do it. So they will remember what they heard and what they saw, both of those things. Okay, so then standing in front of the chair at the wall, going to exhale, bring your hands to the chair seat and walk away. Take big steps back. Walk away. You can walk your feet beyond your hips. And then stretch out through the arms and take your sternum, your breastplate, toward the mat, toward the floor. Sharpen your sit bones toward the ceiling. Now pull up through your kneecaps to straighten your legs, sharpen your sit bones toward the ceiling, sternum toward the floor. Now look forward, and as you look forward, can you feel how the upper back became engaged? Yeah, so look at the floor again. And now as you look forward, feel how that engages the upper back muscles. So then when we do this, you can get more life out of the upper back, strengthen the upper back as you gaze forward toward the chair seat. And then walk in toward the chair to come up. And then slowly come up. So then with an older adult, they're not going to probably come back as far, especially in the beginning. It may be more like this. Okay. And they might have shoulder restrictions. Someone may have shoulder restrictions that they're not able to get into full arm flexion. So they're not going to be able to come back to the point where their arms are doing this. They'll go to whatever their maximum is, and you'll work with them from there. Okay, so then coming back, I would start close to the chair and walk away from the chair, and then walk back in toward the chair to come up. It's the safest way to do it. Okay, walk away and walk back in and demonstrate it that way. Okay, so now I'm going to go from Adho Mukha Svanasana to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Because some seniors are going to be able to do this, no problem. So walking away from my chair into a downward dog. Hit the heads of the thigh bones back, look forward. Now come onto the balls of your feet and swing your hips toward the chair. Press into the palms and lift up through the arms. Lift your chest, lift your collarbones. Then navel to the spine as you hit the thigh bones back. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Walk toward the chair to come up. Okay, let's all do this. If you haven't done it already, stand close to your chair. And if you want to really get into it, you can do Urdhva Hastasana, upward arms, exhale, take your hands to the chair seat, walk your feet back. Coming into Adho Mukha Svanasana, heads of the thigh bones back, getting a nice traction in the spine. Kneecaps are firm, sit bones lifting toward the ceiling, heart centered toward the mat. Now look forward, come onto the balls of your feet exhale, swing your hips forward, press into the palms and lift up through your arms. Lift the sternum. Lift from the heart center. Look up. And then exhale, push back. Navel to the spine, thighs back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. And walk in toward your chair to come up. Inhale, Tadasana. So you can work with, we will be able to work with some people in this way. And then there was Parshvottanasana, which another standing pose with hands on chair. So Parshvottanasana. And again, starting by taking your hands down to the chair. This time, step your left foot well back. Legs are straight. Pull up through the kneecaps, firming your thighs. Square your hips toward the chair seat and collarbones toward the chair back. Move your spine in and up. Lift your right forefoot up, so you're only on the heel, and take the weight into your back heel. Move the weight into your back leg. And now lower your front foot, take the first metatarsal down first, and then the other metatarsals and toes. Outer corners of both hips move back, collarbones forward. Now there's two ways to transition. You could step back or step forward. I'm going to step forward, keep my hands where they are, bring my left foot back to meet my right, and step my right foot back. Same thing. Square the hips, square the collarbones, spine moving in and up. Do a back bend with your upper back. You see people humping the upper back, bring the collarbones forward. And now lift the front of your left foot, take the back heel down, get your weight into the back leg. And as you bring your left foot down, come down from the first metatarsal and roll the other toes down. And now step your left foot back. Bring your left foot to meet your right foot. Come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog pose. Heart center toward the mat. Look up. Inhale. Swing your hips toward the chair. Upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Press down through the palms, lift up through the inner arms, head back. Exhale, hit the heads of your thighs back, come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. And walk in toward the chair. So that's a lot of work for older adults, but they can do it with a little practice. Some can, some will be able to do it with a little practice, and they'll really enjoy it. So you've got your more healthy older adults who you can do that with, and you can do that in the office with them and give them something kind of fun to take home. Of course, it's not for the people who Emma, you were talking about earlier, who really are going to stay in the chair. So then Ardha Uttanasana with chair, head to the seat. So there's a couple of ways we do this Ardha Uttanasana. There's one way that we do this with just coming forward and resting your head on the chair seat. I've got my arms are folded on the chair seat too. It's a soft way to do it. Some people will still need a yoga brick to take their head to. They might even need it up here to take their head and come like this. And then another way to do Ardha Uttanasana is over the back of the chair. Takes more props. Now, you have to make this edge of the chair seat even with your hips. So if you're really tall, you need to pile a lot of blankets on here. If you're, or if your chair is really small. So that'll work for me okay. As I fold over, I can feel my hips just on that edge. The other thing I want is the bolster. I'm going to put a mini mat on here so the bolster doesn't roll around as much. That might be enough. We'll see. And then lengthening through the frontal spine as I fold over the chair. Yeah, that's nice. And rest. So see what you've got available that you could do this with. Yeah, get your feet inside the chair legs and feet forward like Tadasana. Unless your chair is just that much smaller than you, if it helps you to take your feet just to the outside of the chair legs to be able to get your hip crease at the right level for folding, then you can do it that way. To see that the more support you have to be able to rest forward, the better. You want to feel you are supported in this forward fold. And then it will be more restful. Legs are active, pull up through the kneecaps, front of the thighs lifting. And then exhale and release your upper body over your support. It's a very restful pose. And then slowly come up. Turn your seat forward. I'm just going to take a blanket and roll it, taking my feet wide apart in line with the feet of the chair. And I've actually got a small rolled blanket in my abdomen. I'm going to fold forward and hang. No, I don't like the feel of that right now. I'm taking that out. Looks like my dog has been lying on this blanket. What a sneak. Okay, feet firmly on the floor. You could try with or without the blanket, and then exhale. As you fold forward, you're taking your torso between your legs, so the blanket might feel too restrictive. And then let your arms come down and clasp your elbows and let your head hang. Let the back of your neck be long, let your head hang. Now, this is hard to do on a full stomach. I've had people tell me they were getting cramps in this pose, and I'd say, "Did you just eat before class?" And they would say, "Yes." And then bring your hands to your knees and use your arms to come up. Exhale and come up. And then you would do Shavasana. That would be the end of that segment. There is also Bardhajasana, the chair twist in this one as well. I don't want to repeat the ones we've done already, but I should name them. So then class 7 and 8, Purvottanasana. That's the back bend we just did in this last one, sitting back and leaning back. So we're not going to spend time repeating that, just going to bring in the ones we haven't done yet. So that's Purvottanasana, moving, getting that back bend action over the chair seat. And then the next one is Marichiyasana 3, standing at the wall with foot on, one foot on the floor and one on the chair. Foot on or chair. I put chair as more difficult for this one. So what we did was basically we stood with the feet scissored, legs scissored. The leg that's at the wall is forward and then turning toward the wall. Lifting up through the spine and turning, pushing into the wall to turn. Keep both feet firmly grounded. So you can go ahead and do this. Inhale, become taller. Exhale, turn. The leg that's closest to the wall is forward. Opposite, Fran, of what you're doing. And back heel is down. Both feet are firmly on the ground. Legs are straight. So that stabilizes the pose. The legs stabilize the pose. Inhale, lengthen up through the spine. Exhale, turn. Turn from the navel, turn from the rib cage, turn from the collarbones. And then change sides. So every time you do a twist, you climb up. You go from the navel, rib cage, collarbones. You can say navel, rib cage, armpit, chest, collarbones. You just go up. And then you can go to the bottom, up again. Second side. So the leg that's closest to the wall is forward. Both feet are flat on the floor. Drive down through the back heel and make that back leg straight and firm. Exhale, turn toward the wall. Don't lean against the wall. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, turn. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn. With each inhale, climb up. With each exhale, turn more. Face the wall. This is just a simple standing twist that takes only you and a wall. And release. So the chair version is to do this with the front leg on a chair. So if you want to bring your chair to the wall for this, and the leg that's closest to the wall, the foot goes up on the chair. Thighs spin in toward the midline. So this requires more balance because you've got one foot on a chair, so the difficulty level is up. And then inhale, I'm going to reach up with my arm that's closest to the wall, sweep it around, take my second hand onto the outer knee. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, turn from the navel. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn from the rib cage, pushing one hand away from the wall. Thighs turn in toward the midline. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn. Take your collarbones parallel to the wall. Inhale, become taller. Exhale and turn. Watch for this front knee going to the wall. You have to turn it away from the wall. Otherwise, you're just turning your whole pelvis. There's no anchor. And then exhale, come out of the pose, step down and change sides. Back of the chair to the wall. Foot that's closest to the wall goes up on the chair. Standing leg is firm. And now I'm going to take my arm that's closest to the wall. Inhale, sweep it around. The second hand comes to the outer knee. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn from the navel. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn from the collarbones. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn from the armpit chest. So I sort of went up and then back to the middle there. The whole time I'm using my arms as I turn. Push into the wall and pull the knee. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn from the navel. Turn from the rib cage. Turn from the armpit chest. Turn from the collarbones. And then release. Bring your foot down and come out. The Virabhadrasana poses, we're going to do those Saturday, but I'll do a variation of them here. Virabhadrasana 2 and 1. We're going to do them from the chair seat. So I started to tell you about these earlier. Virabhadrasana 2, the second warrior pose. In this pose, the front leg is bent. We're going for a 90-degree angle in this pose. So to do this from the chair works well. Now, the chair won't be the right height for everybody. Somebody might need a brick under their foot, but then a taller person might need support under their buttocks, or their because their legs their knees going to be too high, and they're not going to feel like they're supported well on the chair. So there's the person who needs support under the foot, and there's the person who needs support under the buttocks. Okay, so now I'm going to begin by taking my right leg out and getting my foot pointing away, aligning the inner edge of my right leg with the edge of the chair seat, and then step my left leg back and get the sole of the foot down. Straighten the knee. This leg is well on the chair, so that what you'll find will happen to people is they'll be too far forward. They'll be too far forward to the right, and then they won't be able to straighten this leg because the seat will be in the way. The seat will be in the way. So when you'll encounter this, I'm just telling you about it, this will happen. So you have to get that person their leg onto the chair more, and the buttocks not as much on the chair. And then stretch the left leg back behind you. And of course, you'll see not everybody's legs will be straight, but that's okay. It's there, they are working. Now from here, you can align that femur bone with the edge of the chair seat, and then extend up through the back leg even more. Turn away from the right. Take your left hand behind and use it to turn your torso to the left. Take your right hand to the outside of your knee and push it away. And now here, inhale, exhale, extend the arms out. Go on pressing into both feet, back leg, lift the inner ankle, lift the inner thigh. Reach out through both arms, and now turn and look beyond your right hand. Eyes soft, breath soft. This is the warrior's training. Extend into the back arm even more. Reach into the left arm. As if you're pulling back on a bowstring. And then bring the arms down. And some people aren't going to take the arms up. They're just going to stay with the arms down and work with the legs. Now turn toward your right, bend your left knee. Swing around to the other side. Because it's not easy, right? It's work. It's good work doing this. So your first thing you do is get this left leg in alignment, left foot pointing toward the left end of the mat. The shin is perpendicular to the floor. And then align the femur bone with the edge of your mat, chair, and extend that back leg. As soon as you do that, this knee wants to come forward. So you take your left hand to the inner knee and push it back. Lift the back inner thigh even more. Lift the inner ankle and stamp down the outer edge of the foot. Now bring your right hand behind and holding onto the back of the chair, turn from left to right. Not everybody will be able to do that. They won't all be able to reach the back of the chair, but you can invite it. And now look forward, inhale, extend the arms apart. Go on pushing evenly into both feet. Feel the inner outer edge of each foot. As you extend out through the arms, lift from the inner elbows, let the shoulders relax downward. Remember we talked about how we often see in aging people lift their arms from their upper trapezius, the levator. So we want to get them to descend the shoulder blades, lift from the inner elbows, exhale, gaze beyond your left hand as you extend through the right arm. Eyes soft, breath soft. And now lower your arms, release your back leg, and come to sit forward in your chair. Now, Virabhadrasana 1, the first warrior pose, is best done taking the leg through the back of the chair. But seniors may not be able to do. You don't want to fumble around with trying to get them inside the chair and have them possibly topple over and take the chair with them, etc. So we're going to do just a more simple version of this, which is again taking your right leg all the way around. At this time, you're going to take your back leg and extend it behind you. You're facing the right end of your mat. Extend out through that back heel. And push into the chair seat and sit tall, shoulders back, chest lifted. So you can use your hands to push down through the chair seat, to lift up through the spine and tuck the tailbone. Remember that action we wanted to get of an Utkatasana in this pose. Tailbone tucked. And they can stay here, or you inhale and reach up through the arms. Go on turning your torso from left to right and lift the back thigh off the chair. Inhale, look up. Then exhale, bring the arms down. Turn forward. Second side. Now the back leg can be very hard to keep straight in this pose. So you can put a brick under the back heel, or it's a little trickier, but you can try getting the back heel to a wall. And that helps a lot. It can just get fussy with people going back and forth trying to get in the right place. So you can decide, maybe not on the first time that you do this, that you're going to take the back heel to a wall, because it just brings in another level of complication. So now turning to the left, right leg is extended back. Again, you have to have space here. So the back of the knee is against the edge of the chair seat on the left side. And push into the chair seat and lift up. At the same time, tuck the tailbone, like you want to slouch into the chair. Then you can stay here, or on your next inhalation, reach up. And you could give them the belt here for the hands too. You can have the belt, and that takes some of the work out of the arms. And then exhale the arms down and turn forward. And just rest for a moment. Sukhasana was next, sitting on the floor or chair. Focus on sit bones and posture. Sukhasana with Parvattasana, interlaced fingers. So Sukhasana, a simple cross-legged pose. So we'll just stay in our Tadasana, seated Tadasana. And from here, see, you can also pick up how from the first class, I've started to ramp up the difficulty level for these students. And now we're going to take the arms up again. Interlace your palms, hands, turn the palms out, and with feet firmly planted on the floor, inhale and reach up. Lift from the base of the thumb, the base of the index finger, and straighten the elbows by taking the upper arms toward the ears. Now you can gaze forward, or from here you can take your head back and look up beyond your hands. With the exhalation breath, soften your eyes. Then look forward again and bring your hands back down. Now just rest for a moment with your hands on your lap. So this is in class 7 and 8 now. They've been, they've had 6 classes already. And this is their classes 7 and 8. And then we're going to do that one more time, turning the hands the other way. Changing the interlace so the opposite thumb is on top. Turn the palms out. Stamp down through the feet. Inhale, reach up through the arms. Lift from the base of the index finger. Lift from the base of the thumb. Take your arms back behind your ears and descend the shoulders. Now you can gaze forward, or you can take your head back. We'll just be here for a few breaths now. And then look forward and lower your arms. So this is the way I wrote the sequence when I did this with this group. But to tell you the truth, I would actually do this particular pose earlier before we did Virabhadrasana 2 and 1 now. It's a heating pose. It warms them up for that one. And now I just want to cool them down. So we're going to do Dandasana next, and Urdhva Paschimottanasana, or Viparita Karani at the wall. So I'm introducing Viparita Karani to them this week in this sequence. But we're just going to wrap up now with these next 2 poses. So we'll go ahead and do them. So Dandasana, from Dandasana to Urdhva Paschimottanasana. First, I've got my belt because I'm going to want it. And I'm just sitting tall in Dandasana, hands on the chair seat, shoulders turned from the inside out and extending out through the inner heel. Lift up from the crown of the head. Eyes soft, breath soft. And now Urdhva Paschimottanasana, belt around the feet. And, I did the Urdhva Paschimottanasana often because, again, there's this weakening of the upper back, weakening of the back, and wanting to strengthen the back, so having them come into this upward facing forward bend. And you can gaze forward, eyes level, or you can gaze on the floor slightly forward. But to begin with, do a back bend by taking the head up and looking up and digging those shoulder blades into the back ribs. And then bring your gaze forward and maintain that action in the back. And then release. And a seated Shavasana. Or some of them would be on the floor by now because they're doing Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. And those ones would do Shavasana on the floor or the chair. So we're going to do Shavasana on the chair now. So I'm going to finish here for today. Sitting well on your chair. Have a blanket and fold the blanket on your lap. Sit back on your chair and place your hands palms up on top of the blanket. Feet firm on the floor. So if you need bricks under your feet to make sure your feet are firmly on the floor. And then pinning the shoulders back with an exhale, bow your head. As you bow your head, lift the heart center to greet your gaze, not collapsing the chest, but keep the collarbone spreading, the heart center open. Minimum effort to maintain this. And with an exhalation breath, letting go of all effort. And practicing santosha, contentedness. Be content with what you brought to your practice today. Be content with your successes. And see the beauty in what you bring to everything you do. Eyes recede back into the skull. Relaxing your jaw by letting your teeth part. Throat soft. Feel the sides of the throat gently recede, creating space. Back of the neck long, especially at the base of the skull. Slow, soft inhalation, slow, soft exhalation. With each inhalation breath, receiving from that which is greater than the individual self. And with each exhalation, surrendering to that which is greater than the individual self. Observe the movement of prana flowing through you, how your practice has affected this flow of breath, circulation, life force. Feel the warmth of your body from your practice. And then with a deeper inhalation, exhalation breath, open your eyes and come back to this time and space. Notice how you feel after your practice today. And encouraging you to maintain the imprint of your practice as you move forward. So now keep in mind that this was 8 practices. That I'm not giving all of this to anybody at one time. That we covered 8 practices here. I'm just looking at what else is in the next 2 practices that is different. There's a Paraprananavasana on the floor, Prasarita Padottanasana. I'll make sure I cover these Saturday. And any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
In seated Ardha Padmasana.
Yes.
Yeah. To protect the knee, is it advisable to turn the toes in towards the shin? I found that for myself anyway, just because I had orthoscopic surgery on my knee. I always turn my toes in towards the shin, flex them in towards the shin, and it adds a like
Can you show me what you mean?
yeah.
You'll need to adjust your camera
Yeah.
down a bit.
So when I bring my foot up into Ardha Padmasana, and I bring it into the groin, take my knee down, and then I turn my little toes, my big toe in towards the shin bone. And yeah, and that.
You mean like you're pointing your toes up toward your shin?
Yeah.
I think I see what you mean.
Yeah,
Well,
flexing.
did you get when I was saying to extend out through the inner edge of the foot?
Yeah.
Because it looks very similar.
No, that is the same then. Okay. Because that happens when you flex the inner side of the foot out. The toes naturally flex in towards the shin bone. Okay.
Yeah, they do as it happens. But my reason for doing it is more for the ankle.
Okay. Yeah, you said ankle.
Definitely the ankle, the knee, both have to be protected because the hip is a much stronger joint, and the knee and the ankle will give first, which is why we graduated it from just taking the foot onto a brick and gradually moving it up. And know that many people will never get their foot up there, but others will. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, thanks. Thank
Anyone else? There are so many different things you can do. That's just a taste of some of the work I did with the chair with seniors. On Saturday, we're going to do a lot of variety with the chairs too. Could do a whole course on chairs, yoga with chairs, but that is a beginning. When I have people who are working only in the chair, though, it's really very doable. Yeah. And just keep in mind, if you're doing this in your clinic setting, you're just going to give them a few, 2 or 3 things at a time, and that's all. And then you really want them to get that. So you're going to repeat it with them. Whenever I give people yoga poses to do, patients to do yoga poses, whatever I have them do, I'll review it with them the next time I see them. Or I'll either review it all with them, or I'll ask them if they have questions about any of it that they want to review before I bring in anything new. Fran?
I was just gonna say that one where we were with our hand against the wall. Oh my God. Like I could like feel like all like the whole brachial plexus in there, like the stretching through there, like just the restrictions and resistance that I have in this joint, the shoulder joint, to like externally rotate. So that was a really good eye opener for like, and something to work with to help
I
with.
give that one to massage therapists all the time.
Well, I was like, whoa.
It's a good one for us. How's everyone else doing? Everybody good? Okay. Do have a look at Matthew Sanford. He's quite amazing. And there was an interview with him many years ago on I think it was called On Being at the time with Krista Tippett. She's done quite well over the years with her her podcasts, and they've had a number of incarnations, who's produced her and what they've been called. I think it was called On Being at the time, and she interviewed Matthew Sanford, which was the first time I'd heard of him, and that was probably around 2007. And yeah, he's got quite a story, and he's doing great work. Yeah, Ron.
Is he doing Zoom yoga? Does he have Zoom classes?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'd like to find out because I'm just inquiring about my sister's husband who's in a really, really bad way with
That's a good question. I don't know if he does on Zoom with that. Okay, well, let's just close our practice tonight then, and with chanting the Om. Come to a comfortable seat. Feel the earthiness in the lower body as you connect in your seated posture, the fire in the spine as it lifts upward, the prana in the heart center as it expands and opens, and the softness in the watery pelvis. And bringing the palms together in Atmanjali Mudra, thumbs to the heart center, and lifting the heart center to greet the prayer hands. Take an exhalation breath and then inhaling. Om. May the benefits of our practice be extended to others. Namaste. Okay, thank you all. And I'm always available for questions. And also, I'm really happy to do one-on-ones with you if you want to get together for a Zoom for 30 minutes or whatever and talk things over. If you have questions for me about your case study, if you'd like me to go over any yoga poses with you that you're unclear on or that you would like help with, or just any of the things that I've presented that you have more questions about. So please use me. I'm here for you guys. Okay. All right. Just let me know if you want a meeting. We'll just set it up. Okay. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you all Saturday. Okay. Bye-bye.